Hello, dear friends, and welcome once again to another Divine Laws program where you and I study the very laws that shall govern our lives not only for now but throughout immortality. So, with much gratitude to the mentor spirits and guardian angels who so lovingly prepare those moments every week for all of us, we shall now focus our attention on question 96 of the Spirit's book by Kardec. Shall we? One second. In this question, Kardec begins exploring the different orders of spirits, and he asks, are all spirits equal, or is there some kind of hierarchy among them? The illuminated spirits answer to Kardec and all of us in the following manner. There are different orders according to their individual degree of self purification. So, this is wonderful news, dear friends, because this shows that you and I, all of us, incarnate or discarnate alike, are destined to progress morally. What beautiful news! This is the piece of news that Spiritism brings to us to shed light onto our hearts and to give us eternal hope, for we never regress, always progress. Would you like to know more about our destiny? Yes, me too. This is why you and I now are going to go to the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 3, item 17, where St. Augustine writes a beautiful dissertation about this very hierarchy of spirits. And you and I are now going to read an excerpt regarding the characteristics of spirits who are already in regenerative worlds. The Earth, our beautiful planet and school, is destined to make this transition. As a matter of fact, we are making this transition now. And this transition from a planet of trial and expiations to a planet of regeneration depends on you and I, on all of us, on the choices that we make daily. So let us learn with St. Augustine what the characteristics of a regenerative planet is or are, so that you and I can march together towards them, shall we? So, going now, dear friends, to the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 3, item 17 by St. Augustine. St. Augustine devotes item 17 to explaining to us the characteristics of regenerative worlds. And he explains that in this kind of worlds, we quote, there is no longer the pride that renders our hearts silent, the envy that tortures it, and the hatred that suffocates it. The world love, says St. Augustine, is written on every brow. A perfect equity governs social relations, and all acknowledge God, endeavoring to evolve towards Him by following Him and His laws. What beautiful proposal! And then St. Augustine goes on to explain that many of us would feel happy in a planet such as this, because this types of planet offer to us the calm after the storm, the convalescence after a disease. And since we are, when we reach this state, less absorbed by material things, we are able to foresee the future better. St. Augustine also tells us that when we reach this state of spiritual progress, we also comprehend the joys that the Lord Jesus Christ promises to those who render themselves worthy. And we then deliver our souls to this loss completely. What beautiful proposal! St. Augustine ends this passage by saying that we, when we reach this state, develop a sense of pure and celestial uh, love and charity that emanates from the heart of God. How beautiful, dear friends, to know that this is our destination, and it depends on the choices that we make daily for us to get there. So, St. Augustine explains that to reach this state, we need to be open to comprehend, to feel God's laws. How do we know if we are open to God's laws? If we accept the circumstances in our lives as a loving educational proposal from on high instead of a punishment, if we love each day that God grants us as a new opportunity to learn, to love, and to serve, if we stop wishing that our lives were different, and if we develop an attitude of gratitude, seeing the divine in ourselves and in others, opening ourselves to love more rather than to be loved, to understand more rather than to be understood, to forgive more rather than to wish to be forgiven, to become a giver rather than a taker. From a scale from 0 to 10, beloved friends, where do we find ourselves? Do we find ourselves already accepting of our life circumstances? Do we see life as a loving plan from God for our spiritual progress? Are we able to give to others more than to take? This is our proposal for tonight, dear friends, to exercise giving more than receiving, loving more than to be loved, understanding more than to be understood, so that we prepare our hearts to help with this transition to the world of regeneration. And let us always, beloved friends, carry the hope that we shall progress, march forward to throughout eternity, and that Master Jesus is our loving model and guide that shall always be by our side. What a beautiful proposal from on high. So, with our hearts filled with much gratitude, we wish everyone here, either live or on demand, many, many blessings as we continue to stay tuned, right here to Kardec Radio, where you and I are always nourishing our souls. Bye for now, dear friends.